69 South.
69 South.
69 South.
Welcome everyone to Podcast 69 South, where we cuss and discuss true crime, cold cases, current events, and hot topics, along with our state of society today. This is your trigger warning. Our podcast content is produced for adult listeners 18 years of age and older. We discuss situations that may be offensive and triggering to some listeners. Sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Police talking good.
Hi, my name is Kerry. I'm calling because my friend's boyfriend did not come home last night. They were at Waterfall, and now she is calling me hysterical because she doesn't know where he is. You didn't pick anybody up by the name of John O'Keefe, did you?
John O'Keefe?
Yeah, he's a Boston cop, and he would be on foot, but
No.
I think he probably got a ride and passed out at someone's house. I don't know, but...
Yeah, but no, we didn't lock anybody up or anything like that. And where does he live?
He lives on Meadow, right off of Pleasant.
He lives on Meadow, off of Pleasant. Okay, and where is the wife home? You said your girlfriend?
With his girlfriend, yeah. They were out having drinks, and then she left and expected him to come home at some point, and he never did.
Yep.
And so I said to her, you know, my husband had been out with him earlier in the night, but then he came home, and he has custody of his niece and nephew because their parents passed away.
Okay.
And so she's home with the niece and nephew, and they're old enough to be home. It's just she's nervous because he never even called the niece.
Yep.
So she's like, I feel like something happened. And I said, okay. Well, so he called the area hospital. Nobody has him. I personally think someone probably picked him up and he passed out. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He didn't drive last night?
No.
No. Okay. Again, it's more, it would be driven by you. She would have to, call in, come to the station, and talk to us. But I mean, as of right now, it's more, he just didn't come home last night. Is this common sometimes?
Exactly.
Happen with him?
No. That's why. Because he didn't call his niece. That's kind of why she's more freaking out. So I figured I called the area hospitals. I said I would call Canton police just to make sure he didn't get picked up. But like I said, he's a Boston police officer. He knows a bunch of people. Anybody could have picked him up.
Yeah.
Freaking it out.
Okay.
Apparently they were having a blizzard party of some sort.
Yeah, no.
I don't know.
Unfortunately, I wasn't there. I was stuck here. But we didn't get any calls, anything like that. Nobody was arrested or anything like that.
Okay.
All righty.
All right. Well, thank you.
All right, no problem. Good luck.
Okay.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Welcome to 69 South Podcast. I'm your host, Chop, and with me is my co-host, back finally, is Julie. How you been doing? Beautiful.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful now that you're back. So tell us what you've been working on. I've been telling everybody how we've been working on this big, extreme, crazy case. Let's get right into it.
So I've decided to dig into the murder of Boston police officer John O'Keefe. Now, for today, our true crime story is going to take us to the East Coast, to Canton, Massachusetts, a suburb of Boston located approximately 15 miles south of the city of Champions. This has been voted one of the best places to live in Massachusetts. Reviews say that this is an awesome suburb with a tight-knit community. High school sports are a huge community draw, and they have an excellent school system.
What is the city of champions?
It's Boston.
Boston, yeah. Well, I like a lot of sports teams, and I disagree with that. But anyway, let's get on with it.
Now, for being a suburb, it's more rural than most suburbs, with a population of about 25,000. Most homes in the area are $1 million homes. People from all walks of life from corporate executives, teachers, police officers, firefighters, lawyers, to the stay-at-home PTA soccer moms live in this area. So it seems like a tight-knit community, a nice place to grow up, low crime.
When you say most homes are $1 million homes, I mean, is this a whole community of rich people, or is it just the property value of the area that makes it that much? I mean, if you was to pick up one of these homes and set it in rural Indiana where we live, would it be $1 million home, or would it be, I
think it would probably be like a $500,000 or $600,000 home.
So it's the area. It's kind of a high-pollutant area.
Yeah.
I guess you hear about the Northeast being a different kind of way. I guess that's kind of what they mean.
Yeah. So in 2013, 36-year-old Boston police officer John O'Keefe moved to Canton, Massachusetts, from where he grew up in Braintree, Massachusetts, following his older sister Kristen's death. She was diagnosed with an aggressive brain tumor, and from the day she was diagnosed to the time she passed away was only 5 short months. Could you imagine?
No, I couldn't.
Me either. That would be so traumatic. So when his sister passed away, he wanted to move in and help his brother-in-law raise his niece and nephew. So he did that. His niece was 6 years old and his nephew was 3 years old. And he was extremely close with his family. So he knew the only option for him was to be there for the kids. But yet more tragedy comes when Kristen's husband dies 2 months after Kristen passes away. And he basically becomes an overnight dad to his niece and nephew.
So let me get it straight. John O'Keefe's sister dies, and he's left to be a widowed father of 2 children. And then John O'Keefe's brother-in-law, which was been his sister's husband, passes away of a heart attack and leaves these 2 kids orphaned to John.
Yeah. From all the reports that I've read, I believe John shared guardianship with his mother, but the kids lived with him full time.
I mean, you got to be a pretty good dude, man, to step in a family role like that. So how exactly did he end up in Canton?
Well, whenever his sister lived in Canton, and her house was in Canton, so whenever he moved in with his brother-in-law before he passed away, that's where they lived. Now, he had met his sister's friends through taking guardianship of his niece and nephew. She had friends who had kids that were around the same age.
His sister and his sister's family were basically established in Canton.
Yes, and they had friends and a good support system and family and all of that. So he kind of moved right into the community, and everybody knew what was going on. They knew these children were orphaned. He stepped in to be the guardian and to take care of them. So that's what was going on in his life. In 2020, he reconnected with Karen Reed. They had met years before in 2004 at his sister's 30th birthday party. She was 24 years old then, and they dated a few times and moved on with their lives, so it wasn't anything too serious. Now, back to 2020, they reconnect on Facebook during the COVID pandemic. By this time, John had been working as a Boston police officer for 14 years and was on the sex crimes task force.
And so by all accounts, this dude was a good-ass dude. John O'Keefe, I mean, he moved into the role. He moved his life. He was a Boston police officer. He was working sex crimes. and then he completely uprooted his situation to Canton and started being the father. I mean, father figure to his niece and nephew. And then, I'm impressed with the dude so far.
And I seen in an interview that Karen Reed had said that John was the patron saint of Canton, and that he was such a good guy. He would do anything for anybody. He would offer to help. He was always there. If, he was your friend and you needed him, you could call him and no questions asked. He was going to be there.
It sounded like the dude didn't have a selfish bone in his body from what I've heard so far.
No, not at all. And so, yeah, he was on the sex crimes task force, and Karen wasn't doing too bad for herself either. She was a financial analyst for Fidelity Investments, and she was also an adjunct professor at Bentley College. Now, they seem to be doing pretty well for themselves. By January of 2022, Karen is staying over at John's house on One Meadow Drive 4 to 5 nights a week. She would go back to her home in Mansfield, Massachusetts on Mondays and Thursdays. On Thursdays, she would teach a remote college course and go to her home to do that and reset, rewind, and take a break from the life of helping John raise these children. Can you imagine what an adjustment that would be?
No, not at all.
Well, John had been in the role for several years, for like 11 years. But Karen, she was in her 40s. She didn't have kids. She was an independent woman. And then she kind of throws her own self into being a mom to a teenage daughter and an adolescent son.
I wonder if at first it was all like exciting to her. You know what I mean? Like, ooh, I've never had a daughter. I've always wanted a daughter. But
I don't think she ever pictured herself having children. And I think that becomes tension in their relationship at some point in time. So, but she was a big help to John. He had to go to work in Boston at the headquarters or wherever the sex crimes office was.
How far was Boston from Canton where they lived at?
I'm not 100% sure exactly how far away his job was, but I know if you map it, it's about 15 miles, but it says it takes an hour to get there. So I'm assuming that's for the downtown traffic and all that kind of stuff.
And I'll tell you, for any man that's ever raised a daughter, it's a hard enough job being a man and trying to raise a girl to a young woman to a woman. That's rough without another woman figure in the picture. So I'm sure he was, welcoming the help from Karen Reed. And by all accounts, Karen Reed was probably, good for helping him out with that.
Yeah, because he wasn't getting the amount of support that he had hoped for from the family. So they were kind of stuck together doing it on their own.
So at this point in our story, man, they're basically shacked up together. She's living with him, quote unquote, staying with him 3, 4, 5 days a week. She has a class she teaches, and then she goes home to Mansfield 1 or 2 nights a week. But basically, they're basically a family.
Yeah. Now, on Friday, January 28th, 2022, Karen was taking John's niece to school that morning. They made a pit stop at Dunkin' Donuts, my absolute favorite place ever because I love their coffee.
Well, of course, they stopped there.
And also, Dunkin' Donuts is headquartered in Canton, Massachusetts.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So before going to school, they stop at the Dunkin' Donuts and then Karen drops her off. Now, Karen did her daily routine. It's Friday. She wants to make plans for the weekend. She's getting ready for this huge snowstorm called a nor'easter.
Now, if you guys don't know what a nor'easter is, folks, I pay attention to the weather a lot because I'm a contractor and we need to know what's going on. But it's a storm that kind of swoops up the east side of the country, and the winds from the ocean basically blow it northeast, and it picks up moisture. And sometimes when it gets up to New Jersey and New York, it drops a shit ton of snow on them. That's what a nor'easter is. So they were calling for one this evening?
Yeah, the news report said it was going to be a blockbuster event. So, what do we do here when they call for a blizzard? We go to town, we get all the supplies we need.
Hunker down.
And hunker down. But this evening...
I don't know about you, not trying to interrupt you, but I kind of like it when there's a big storm coming. It kind of feels like, oh, let's go to the store and get our movies ready and get our podcast ready and get all hunkered down with our stuff. I don't know. Be
snowed in.
Yeah, I like that.
That's my favorite. I'd never leave my house if I didn't have to. That's how much I love it.
Except for to go to the capital of Dunkin' Donuts if they invited you.
Right. Now, so that evening, Karen leaves her home in Mansfield, Massachusetts. She meets John and a few of his friends at a local bar, C.W. McCarthy's, in downtown Canton around 9 p.m.
Seems like a regular evening so far.
Yeah, well, when she arrives and greets John, they kiss and hug, exchange hellos, and she takes a seat beside him at the bar. Everything looked cordial from security footage.
This is security footage from C.W. McCarthy's?
Yeah, they sit and they talk, socialize with one another. He chats it up with his friends until about 10:30-ish when Karen and John decide to go to another bar down the street called the Waterfall. It's about a 2-minute walk. I think it might be Caddy Corner across from C.W. McCarthy's or something like that. It's in walking distance, but I mean, it's right downtown.
Right. I can picture it. It's kind of like Bloomington.
Yeah.
Bars, Caddy Corner, just a couple blocks down the street. I see that.
They arrive around 11 p.m. and go to a table where John's friends are sitting. Now we have the McCabe family and we have the Albert family that John joined. John was closer friends with Matt and Jen McCabe. And then there was the Alberts, Brian and Nicole. Nicole is Jen McCabe's sister. Chris and Julie Albert were also there, and that's Brian's brother. He is also a local business owner and a member of the Canton Select Board, and that's basically like the town council of Canton.
And Brian Albert, he was also a fellow Boston police officer, correct?
Yes, Brian Albert was a Boston police officer on the Fugitive Task Force.
So I wonder if they knew each other well before this meeting.
No.
I mean, there's 3,000 Boston police officers, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think that they had crossed paths or knew each other very well. I believe they were kind of like acquaintances, but not close friends.
I mean, you would think, though, they lived in a small town of Canton. I mean, it's not a really big town. It's not a super small town, but it's not a giant town. Even if they didn't know each other as good friends or buddies, if they both knew they were, both Boston police officers, they'd have been like, hey, brother, what's up? Kind of like,
I think they had ran into each other and been introduced to each other at a local bar.
Well, they've about had to with him knowing Brian's brother, Chris, and his wife.
Yes, and the vibe that the Alberts give is that they were more like acquaintances, not close friends, seen him here and there, met him once or twice. That was the vibe that you get from the reports that I read of the Alberts. Like John had never been over to his house or anything like that until, this evening. But Karen had met Brian Albert once before, and that was the previous weekend at a local bar called the Hillside. But it was just like acquaintances, nothing best friends or anything like that. Karen said that John O'Keefe wanted to make a good impression on this family, and he wanted to be friends with them.
Why, we're all the stuff that we have researched. I mean, Brian Albert was like, everybody looked up to him. He was a badass. I mean, he was a boxer. I mean, his brother owned the pizza shop. His family was big shit around there. So, of course, John O'Keefe wanted to make a good impression on him. I mean, this is a big family. The Alberts are a big family in Canton. All of them born and raised there. They all went to school together. They all was in sports. Their kids were in sports. John O'Keefe's kids were in sports. I mean, yeah, everybody looks up to this dude. So, yeah, he's going to want to make a good impression on this dude.
And it would have been a perfect community connection.
Absolutely. I can see that.
So they arrived to the Waterfall Bar and Grill about 11 or 10:45 to 11. And they met the Alberts and the McCabe's there. There was also another Brian there, which his name is Brian Higgins, and he was best friends with Brian Albert. Now, I know all of this sounds confusing, but you'll understand why we're introducing these people like this.
This is a deep story.
So, Nicole and Brian Albert were ready to wrap it up and go home and leave the waterfall because their son, Brian Jr., was having a birthday party at their home, and he had some guests over. He had his 17-year-old cousin Colin and two girls named Julie and Sarah. Go figure.
I've known a couple girls named Julie and Sarah, always together, always trouble. Not saying these two are, but just saying.
So, Nicole Albert had told her sister Jen, hey, if you guys want to stop by and wish Brian Jr. a happy birthday, come on by. And then it became like an open invitation for the group that they were in that, hey, we're having kind of like an after party get together because the bar was closing down. They were getting ready for the Nor'easter and the party wasn't over, I guess.
So they all got a buzz. They're chilling at the bar. Some of them's friends. Some of them want to be friends. Some of them may have been friends that we didn't know they were friends at this point. And they're like, hey, we're going to go to the crib and chill. Let's go over there and hang out and party afterwards for a little bit. I've been there. I get that.
So as Jen McCabe is exiting the waterfall, she hollers to Karen Reed, you're coming with me, suggesting that she wanted Karen Reed to ride to the Alberts' home with herself and her husband, Matt McCabe. But Karen Reed had drove her Lexus SUV that evening so that she could give John O'Keefe a ride back to the home because he originally rode to C.W. McCarthy's with another friend. Now, Jen McCabe shoots a text message to John O'Keefe, you coming? John texts back, where to? So in response, Jen calls John to give him directions. Jen is still in her car on the way to the Alberts and tells John O'Keefe, you go past Bella Street. It's at the bottom of the hill. They end the call and John and Karen pull up to the home. When they pull up to the home, Jen McCabe is already there. So she gets up from the kitchen table to greet John and Karen at the front door because Jen McCabe had invited Karen and John, and she knew them better. So she invited them to her sister's house. Of course, she would be the one to go answer the door.
Yeah, she's standing
like
up there.
Co-host,
right? I get that. She's standing there. Hey, these are my friends that I know better than you. I invited them here, so I'm gonna. When they come in, I'm gonna be like, hey, this is this so and so. This is so and so. I've been there. I get that.
But they are sitting in Karen's vehicle, so Jen McCabe goes back to the kitchen table to wait. She states that she gets up a few minutes later to see if they are coming in, and the vehicle had moved up in feet from where it was originally parked. So Jen texts John, pull behind me, and she didn't get any type of response. She goes back to look, and Karen's Reed black Lexus SUV is gone. Meanwhile, it's 12:36 a.m. and Karen Reed is pulling back up to John O'Keefe's house on Wed Meadow Avenue. She calls John and he doesn't answer. She leaves a voicemail that says, "John, I fucking hate you." She's clearly upset because John wanted to go to the Alberts. It was late. There was a blizzard or nor'easter coming. John's niece was at home alone, and Karen Reed was just ready to be in for the night.
Sounds like she was done partying, and maybe he wanted to go there and hang out with his cop buddies that he wanted to make an impression on.
Yeah. So John was supposed to go in and make sure he was welcome and text her to let her know everything was cool. But John never replied or texted back. So after waiting a few moments, she decided to head to John's house on Meadows Avenue, which was approximately 5 to 10 minutes away. And we know this because her phone connects to the Wi-Fi at John's house at 12:36.
So that timeline is definitely attributed to...
Yeah, she's definitely pulling back up to his house at 12:36, and she's thinking he's over there partying. So she's pissed and
as you would
leaving
be.
him nasty voicemails. For one, he's not answering the phone. She just dropped him off, and she's trying to call him, and she's not getting anywhere. So of course she's mad. Now, on these voicemails that Karen is leaving John, you can clearly hear her walking into the house, her high heels on the floor, and her shutting the door.
Probably stomping. Click, click, click. You know the sound.
Like, I hate this motherfucker.
Yep.
I can't
Click,
believe
click,
he's doing
click.
this to me again.
You females do that on purpose, like make your shoes louder. I'm just curious.
Oh, with attitude, absolutely.
I
You gonna
fucking
hear
knew it.
us. when
I
we're mad.
fucking knew it.
Now, once she gets inside the house and gets settled, she's mad, so she's going to text anything that she can to elicit a response.
Anything to get his ass home and feel bad.
So at 12:55, she texted John, "I'm going home," followed by "see you later." And about 7 to 10 minutes passes, and she is so pissed. She texts, "Your kids are fucking alone." And then 2 minutes after that, "I'm back in Mansfield. The kids are home alone."
So she's hoping I'm texting him this shit. He's gonna rush home because the kids are at home alone and my girl's gone, so I better rush the fuck home. That's what she's hoping anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly what she's hoping. But you know she's talking shit because her house is 25 minutes away from John, and she texted him 10 minutes ago she was going home. So she
10
couldn't make
minutes.
it home in 10 minutes.
10 minutes from the high heels clicking to I'm home.
And most women would be pissed. I wouldn't have left you there. I mean,
No,
you're going to go to an
hell
after
no.
party. We're going together. Let's have some fun.
We're going or you ain't going.
Yeah, and so where in the fuck did John go? It's like he just disappeared into thin air. Why would John disappear? What happened between him and Karen? Did she really drop him off? Is he mad, just avoiding her?
How fucked up were they, you wonder, you know?
Well, we're about to find out. So she finally stops texting and calling around 1:20 a.m. She is asleep for about 3 hours. Then Karen wakes up at 4:30 a.m. and John is still not home. As most women would, she becomes frantic immediately. She starts calling him back to back over and over. She even goes as far as waking up his niece Kaylee and asking her to call Jim McCabe since they were with her the night before, and that was the last person that she believed John had spoken with, and she dropped him off on 34 Fairview Road. So Jen has been informed that John is missing and that Karen is going to head to the waterfall to look for John. She leaves John's house at 5:07 a.m. And while backing out of the garage, she just happens to bump into John's car.
Now that's on video.
Yes.
We literally see Karen Reed backing into one of John O'Keefe's vehicles there. The unoccupied O'Keefe vehicle shakes. You can see it. She absolutely hits it with her passenger side taillight.
Yes, and after she does that, she's not even worried about it. She just wants to make her way back up to the waterfall, or she's just driving around town looking for him because she's so worried because it's not like him.
That is an interesting point, though, that we need to point out because it's going to come in play later. Why is she worried about going straight back to the waterfall? I mean, they were talking about this after party, but her initial reaction is to go back to the bar where they were partying at.
Well, she had spoke with Jen McCabe, and they go back and forth. Jen calls her, Karen calls her back, like a game of tag.
Right.
So Jen's like, Karen, come to my house and pick me up, and I'll go help you look for John. So Karen drives over to Jen's house, and she gets there at 5:39. Kerry Roberts, she's the person who made the initial 911 call, just happens to show up there, and she starts following behind Karen and Jen, and she meets them at John's house on One Meadow Avenue. Karen is so hysterical that Jen had to drive the car back there to John's just to make sure he wasn't there or had not showed up since she had left. They were only there for about 5 to 6 minutes after they arrived. Now, when they leave this time, Karen decides to let Kerry Roberts drive her vehicle because she's a mess. And they head over to 34 Fairview. As they approach the residence, Jen just happens to point out the tree line and say, there's the house. And when Karen looks, she sees something covered in snow and immediately jumps from the car to see what it is. And sadly, it's John O'Keefe laying unresponsive in the snow. So she starts to render aid immediately.
She's freaking the fuck out at this point.
Absolutely, she is. He's not breathing. He's unconscious. She has no clue what happened to him. So she tells Jen, hey, call 911 now. We need help.
And this is where the second 911 call initiates from, and we're going to let you listen to that now.
No, police is still on. What is your emergency?
Yes, I need someone to come to 34 Fairview Road in Canton, Mass. There's a man passed out in the snow.
You're in Canton? Hold on. I'm going to transfer over to Canton Police. You connected to Nolan, okay?
Yeah, I don't know why I did that.
It's the tower's address. Stay on the line.
I think he's dead. You need, you got to get here ASAP, okay?
All right, I'm going to transfer the line. I'm going to transfer to Canton.
Okay. I know. Where are the blankets? I don't see blankets, Kerry.
911, what's your emergency?
Yes, I need someone to come immediately to 34 Fairview Road, Canton, Mass.
What's going on?
There's a guy unresponsive in the snow.
In the snow at 34?
He passed out, yes. 34, the Albert resident, yes. I just pulled up and found him.
Okay, 34 Fairview?
34 Fairview, Canton, Mass, yes.
911 is unrecorded. Where's your emergency? Hello?
Yes, I'm sorry. Can you come to 34 Fairview Road in Canton?
34 Fairview?
Yes, there's a man unresponsive in the snow.
Okay. Is he blue at all?
You've got to get here, okay?
Okay. What's going on? Is he face down?
We just flipped him over.
Okay. And Who's that in the background? Is that someone related?
Okay, that's his girlfriend. His name is John O'Keefe.
Okay, how old is he?
John is 46 years old.
46. How long has he been outside?
I don't know. I don't know. He got out of the car and
is he breathing?
A couple of hours. Is he Kerry? Is he? I don't know if he's breathing. There are two women trying to do his body heat, and they're hysterical.
Okay, can you just try to ask him? I know it's tough, but we already have the fire department going. I just got to know if he's breathing.
Is he breathing, you guys? No. It doesn't seem to be breathing.
Okay, do they know how to do CPR? Do they want to attempt CPR?
You guys, Kerry, can you guys do CPR? No, I guess he's gone.
Okay, they don't feel comfortable doing so?
No, I think he's passed away.
Okay. All right, we have the fire department and the police department on the way. If everyone's declining CPR, then I'll hang up with you, and if anything changes, you can give us a call back. Where are you guys outside?
Oh, right out front. I know, I'm on the phone with the ambulance. I know, honey. I know. So, Kerry, you got to get off him, honey. Kerry, you got to get off of him.
You know if there was any alcohol or drugs involved?
They had been out.
They've been out drinking?
Yes, I'm talking hours ago, maybe. And I don't know how long he's been in this now.
Okay, is there any bleeding or anything? Maybe he hit his head out?
Yes, possibly. There seems to be bleeding in the face.
Okay, bleeding from the face. All right.
Yes.
How big's the pool of blood, if there is any?
Something's coming out of his nose, and one of the women is doing CPR.
Okay, one of the women is doing CPR?
Yes, they're both working on him.
All right, if she's doing CPR, just give us a call back if he becomes responsive, right? But we're on the way.
Okay, thank you.
Clearly, this is a very traumatic scene. Everybody's flipping out. You can clearly hear that on the 911 call. So 46-year-old Boston police officer John O'Keefe is pronounced dead at the hospital.
Yeah, they worked on him for approximately 2 hours because they didn't know what the whole status was. They thought he was just frozen.
Very tragic.
But they later learned that he has injuries to his head and to his arm. No injuries below his neck, but we will get into that in our next episode. So stay with us to find out what happened to Officer John O'Keefe.
This story clearly has so many twists and turns, and we will get into all those, and we cannot wait to tell you all the red tape that's in this story. We very look forward to it. This is going to be a big case, big series.
I'm so excited about it.
Until then, have a good day, good evening,
Whatever.